Okay, so today I'm going to be going through how to get a level 7 on your IB Geography IA. Just as a side note, I want to say that my IA was about rivers, and that obviously is, physical geography, river processes, human impact, things like that. So the way that I structured my IA may not be exactly how you should structure yours, so just take that into account. But I just feel like it might be good to give like an idea of what I did, so you can take some things that might apply to yours, and some things maybe not. But I feel like this will just give a good general overview of structuring and what's important to include, and just get you into the mindset of writing your IA. Okay, so these are basically all of the Geo IA essentials, in my opinion. Like the basically backbone of your IA will have an introduction, hypotheses, your methodology, your data presentation, conclusion and evaluation, and finally, of course, your bibliography. Okay, and now I'm just going to go through like the general process that you will likely have to do. So generally with the IAs, you start by collecting data. This could be on a field trip, a day trip with your school or something like that, and make sure that your data is robust in that you're trying as much as possible to make it fair, I suppose, and also collecting as much information as you can. Obviously, there are going to be some issues here and there, external factors, but just trying to get like the most data that you can is going to be really, really important and helpful. Then once you've done all of the data collection, you're going to end up manipulating that data into tables, graphs, charts, maps, etc. So this will just help you to see like any trends that may arise in your once you've started to manipulate the data, and from that you can draw your hypotheses. So you could say as you go further down the river, then it gets the river width increases or something like that. So you can start to see trends that you could discuss and start to look for like points of interest, like, oh, that looks like an anomaly, maybe I could discuss that, this looks like that, things like that, basically, just to give you an idea of what you could actually write your IA about. Then you're going to do your drawing, conclusions, and evaluations. Here you really want to be critical and nuanced, so it can be good to have anomalous data to discuss. Like, try to discuss things where there are, like points to sort of argue against or for, like for and against the hypothesis, for example, because that will essentially give you more to talk about in terms of the theory that you're discussing. Yeah, okay. And one thing that I want to discuss just before going into each section of the IA is the fieldwork question. So this is your question that will essentially provide the backbone for your IA, like what you're actually going to research and what question you want to be answering. So this is really, really, really important, and you want to make sure this is a good question because this will be in your introduction, and it needs to be something clear, something relating to the topic. So for example, mine had to relate to freshwater and drainage basins topic. And throughout the IA, you want to be consistently referring to this fieldwork question, because that will essentially help to get you more marks. It is something a little bit strange to be continuously referring to this like fieldwork question at various points throughout your IA, but trust me that it will really help when you send your IA to get marked, because it is part of the criteria. Okay, so I just want to show you this. So these are all the essential sections that I mentioned, just to give you an idea of how mine was structured. And so I've got all these subheadings, but the main headings are the ones that I'm about to discuss now. And as you can see here, I've made the fieldwork question very clear. As soon as I start my introduction, it's already there and it's boxed and it's just, clear and relevant and everything. So that's just an example of what you could do. Okay, so here are some things you could include in your introduction. Obviously, something like climate might be different depending on your topic, because for something like human geography, it may impact it, might not, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so fieldwork question, as I just said, must be good. It's essential. You need that to begin your whole IA, essentially. And make sure it's, like, try to get approval from it. Approval about it from, like, a teacher or something like that. Okay, location, describe what the area or landform is, the size of the area, the length of, like, the river, for example, if you're doing a river, why you chose this location for the study. So obviously keep it nice and concise, nothing too drastic. You don't need to be including a lot of, like, history or anything like that, unless you think it's relevant to the fieldwork question. Then you may want to include a multi-stage map of the location. So that's a map going from, like, a world scale to a regional scale to a national scale to a local scale, using arrows to kind of portray that. So this is my multi-stage map, just to give you an idea. Yeah. Okay, so then you want to go through the geographical theory, which has to be clear and concise, easy to understand. Use the things that you learned in class, essentially relating to your fieldwork question. A map of the site locations that you use. So if you have different sites within the area of study, you can do detailed diagrams on that. Provide the latitude, longitude, elevation, so like the map coordinates of the area or the site. You want to include the aim of the study. So make sure this aim links to the fieldwork question. Mention the date of the study and mention what the study, like how the study links to, what the study links to in the syllabus. So, like, I'll show you my example. So here I've done a climate graph, which does impact rivers, so I included that. Gone through some theory, map of site locations here. So you have the elevation points, the longitude, latitude, everything like that. And then I have the aim of the study here. The next section should be your hypotheses. So state one or two of your hypotheses in detail. Link to your fieldwork question again. Note that the investigation of each hypothesis will help to answer this fieldwork question. Link to the theory and your figures, so like the, site pictures or things like that you've previously included. Figures are useless unless referred to meaningfully, so don't include figures unless you're going to be referring to them. Go into detail about geographical processes and theories and keep it simple and clear. So here you can see that I'm referring to the figures that I used to display the theory, with my hypothesis here, going through why this might be, why I think this hypothesis is, sufficient, and then linking to the fieldwork question, doing the same thing again with my other hypothesis as well. Okay, then you want to go through your methodology, so how you're collecting your data. Note why you're introducing a methodology, again link it to the fieldwork question, and include a full equipment diagram with descriptions as well. And also do your description and justification of each process that you use to collect certain data. So here you can see that I've done like a little thing saying why I'm including the methodology, everything like that, the date when I collected the data, going through the equipment, and then I'm going through these like I'm only discussing the processes of like the methodology for things that are included in my hypotheses. So stream width, wetted perimeter, stream depth, velocity, everything like that. And I'm giving like a step-by-step description of my process. And that has to be very clear and specific as well. You may also want to include justification for your like why you collected this. So I'm saying this is collected. So an example, the site was able to recall the characteristics of each river. This is for the sketch. So justifications can also be useful if necessary. Okay, now it's data presentation and analysis. So here you want to provide site annotations and sketches for each relevant site to the hypotheses. Restate your hypotheses as well. That can be helpful just to kind of keep everything relevant. present your manipulated data for each hypothesis, explain or note any anomalies to a trend in detail, make this meaningful, and link it to the fieldwork question/hypothesis. Analyze and conclude regarding the hypothesis, so just making sure everything is relevant to your hypothesis, your fieldwork question, using good terminology, vocabulary as well. Show specific calculations and describe why you did them, what they show. So don't just show like, oh, I calculated this, but actually explain why you did this, what it means, everything like that. Link to field question again, and state whether you reject or accept your hypothesis. So this is all of my data presentation, and I've only done the relevant sites, so I didn't include every single site, but just the ones that I want to discuss. And then, yeah, data presentation, hypothesis analysis. So these are my hypotheses again. Hypothesis 1, data presentation. So I'm showing how I've manipulated the data, then I'm showing my calculations here, anomalies, discussing the anomalies in detail, with all the theory to back that up, another hypothesis. So this is my second hypothesis. Again, graphs, calculations, everything. Do I agree, disagree with my hypothesis? And yeah, that's basically what I did. Okay, then you want to go into your final part, your conclusion. So you want to make a robust and relevant conclusion for each hypothesis, mention the theory and how this could be biased or limiting to your findings, and note how both conclusions impact the fieldwork question. Then you want to do your evaluation. So the easiest way for me at least was making a table showing the source of limitation, then a column with issues and limitations, then a column of improvements or how these findings would help to better answer the fieldwork question. And then you want to have final conclusion on all of these evaluation points, linking to, again, the hypotheses, the fieldwork question, just to summarize everything. And then you want to finish with your bibliography, which is shouldn't be too difficult. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, your conclusion. So I'm doing a conclusion for each hypothesis just to make it sound kind of easier, override or reject hypothesis because of all this. Keep it very simple. Don't include too much. Don't use too many words. Just make it simple and, yeah. Then I'm relating to the initial fieldwork question here. So, make sure you're doing that. Then my evaluation, as I said, I had source of limitation, issues, limitations, improvements, and how these improvements would help to answer the fieldwork question. And then, of course, my bibliography. Oh, and yeah, the little conclusion about relating to the fieldwork question, about the evaluation points, and then my bibliography. Okay, well, thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope that you gained some helpful knowledge and tips and advice. Leave any questions below, and good luck with your IA.